It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life's Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. Most everyone dreams of having a successful career that they enjoy and that provides them with the life they desire. But more often than not, many end up settling for less and living day by day unfulfilled. The good news is that having a successful career may be more in your control than you believe. Today's guest, Erika Ayers Badan, joins us to discuss how to be effective in the workplace, love what you do, and get noticed. Erika is the CEO of Food52 and was the first CEO of Barstool Sports. She's been named one of Forbes' Most Powerful Women in the U.S. in sports. Erika has held leading roles at Microsoft, AOL, Demand Media, and Yahoo, and she's appeared on CNN and MSNBC. She's the author of Nobody Cares About Your Career, While Failure is Good, The Great Ones Play Hurt, and Other Hard Truths. Welcome, Erika. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Erika, I want to start off with a little bit of background about your career journey. How did you get started, and what was your career path like?
I've had a very meandering career, I think. My career journey started, like most people. I worked in high school at a bunch of, waitressing jobs. I worked at a water slide. I was a bus girl. My first big break, I would say, is an internship I had in college at Fidelity Investments in Boston. And I was the receptionist. And I was so bored sitting there letting people in the door all day that I made all sorts of side jobs for myself and took on really any project I could imagine at Fidelity, which earned me the opportunity to get a job there after I graduated. I thought I had wanted to be a lawyer. The department I worked in was the legal department. It seemed like a great place to be. And then I realized, oh gosh, I have I have zero interest in being a lawyer. I want to make a change. And from there moved into advertising, still within Fidelity, and then went on to work at a bunch of advertising agencies, really in marketing and on the internet. The internet, I was lucky when I graduated from college, and at the beginning of my career, the internet was just starting. And I was able to get in very early and get a lot of opportunity at a very young age. And the internet was really the greatest opening in my career. And then from there, I went and had a bunch of jobs. I worked at Microsoft, I worked at Yahoo, I worked at AOL, I worked at a couple startups. I found myself at Barstool Sports in 2016, and we had a really incredible nearly 10-year run there. And, now I'm at Food52. So I would say, I think everyone's career journey is different. I've always really sought to be learning and to be doing and to be trying new things constantly and pushing myself and pushing others around me. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of trial and error. And I think that's, what I wish people would know about a career, which is it may look so good from the outside, or you may want it to be a certain thing. But the reality is you have to try and do a lot of things to figure out what's right for you. And then also that what's right for you is going to change over time, and you're going to want your career to change with that.
Well, I think you have to be willing to take a chance on something. So let's use Barstool Sports, for example. When you went there, did you see something in that? Did you follow your intuition? Was it something that you believed had a potential?
Definitely. I think, going back to my time at Fidelity, when I left the legal department, I wanted to work in the advertising and marketing department at Fidelity. And the HR people said, Erika, you are an absolute idiot. I don't know why you would ever do that. I was making $50,000 and I was going to take a pay cut to make $17,900. And I was like, I don't care about the pay cut. I know in my gut that this is a place where I'm going to learn more and be able to do more, and I will be happier. And what looked on the outside like a very stupid decision and a mistake actually opened up the entire path of my career. The same thing happened when I joined Barstool. When I joined Barstool, the company had been around 10 years, 2004, pretty much 10 years at that point. So it was small, but it wasn't new. And what I saw in Barstool Sports was that it could be something really, really, really big. They had all the right ingredients. But again, conventional wisdom said, why would you do that? Why would you take that risk? Why would you leave a cushy corporate job to go, be part, hang out with a bunch of hooligans and build Barstool Sports? And I think it's because I took that jump early in my career that I understood I could jump. And I understood that even if it went wrong or wasn't what I wanted it to be, I would have regretted not doing it. And so, I think that's important is to, I think most people are optimists. And even if you make a bad decision, you'll always somehow rationalize that something good came out of it. And that's a good way to think about career.
What did you learn from working at Barstool Sports? So, for example, you just said that it had all of the components that were needed for success. And a lot of times people build brands or start companies and they have all of the components, but they just can't make it happen. So why do you think you and Barstool Sports were able to when other people struggle in that area?
I think because we failed all the time and we were okay with it. And we were very harsh on ourselves. We were very tough critics of how we did what we did and how we did things. We were never satisfied. I think for me personally, it's because I loved it and I was committed to making the talent at Barstool Sports successful and willing to sacrifice to do so. I think a lot of times people get caught up in their own head and it holds them back from really committing to something and giving to something. I think a lot of times people forget to listen and to hear what other people are saying, and as a result of hearing it, being able to solve for it better. And then the third piece is I think sometimes people get caught in the idea of what things should be, or what their role should look like, or where their responsibilities should begin and end. And the great thing about Barstool is that there just was no job too small for anybody there. And that was partly the reason we were able to be so successful, is that nothing was beneath anyone.
Well, I think you made a great point when you said that you failed so many times, because often when a business owner or a brand developer, they fail, they have this A to Z mentality that it's supposed to be a straight line. And if something doesn't work out, they give up. But like you were saying, those failures are important. And I think that's such a great point about not being afraid of quote unquote failure and using it to your benefit.
I'm a huge believer in failure, and that's a huge part of, Nobody Cares About Your Career, which is the book I wrote this year. I think people have an assumption that other people care about them more than they do, which sounds harsh. But I think it really holds people back when it comes to experimenting with things. I think people get paralyzed in this thought of, what if I make a mistake? Or what if I do something stupid? Or what if I'm not perfect? Or what if that's the wrong decision? Or what if I'm not as good as the next girl or the next guy? And I think that inner dialogue and that inner monologue is really, really dangerous. One, because it prevents you from trying things, which makes you sedentary and it calcifies you. And then the second thing is, even when you fail, everybody fails, and humans are fallible. So the idea that you are alone out there messing up and the only one to ever do it is just patently false. And I think if people could just get out of their head and over their insecurity, they would find that they could do and achieve much more than they think they're possible of or capable of.
Well, in talking about the power of someone's thoughts, the media once labeled you a token CEO. How were you able to keep that label from infiltrating your mind and perhaps even making you feel less than?
Oh, I trademarked it the minute somebody called me that, which when in doubt, you should trademark things. It was good. I was glad to be called that. I think it made me angry, and the anger was very motivating. I think the second piece is it was comforting in a way, because it showed how deeply people underestimated me. And that, I think it's a hard place to be when the expectations are very high. And I could tell that expectations of me were very low. And, I think people always have something to say about you. And usually it's negative, right? Let's assume it's negative. And, that's okay. That's their opinion. That comes from, all sorts of different places for all sorts of different reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with you. And, I think it's good to listen to the criticism of you, because there's always a kernel of truth in it, and there's a kernel of truth in it. But I always like to think that when people shoot things at you, it's just arrows that you can take and put in your own quiver. And it's a choice. It's a choice to either feel the arrow as something that pierces you, or to take the arrow and say, okay, I'm going to internalize this. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to acknowledge my part of it and decide what I want to do with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a different kind of mind. That was the mindset I tried to hold. And I think it's a good mindset for growth.
I wish I had thought about the trademarking. When I started this work, Erika, I was in middle age, and I wanted to create a brand and a radio show, and I had no experience. And boy, I have a list of things that I could have trademarked. I was told that I was making a fool of myself, and everyone was laughing at me. So I am in total agreement with you about the importance of the way we speak to ourselves in our head. And we have control over that. We can't control what people say, but we can control what we allow in and what we trademark.
Oh, that's awesome. And you should trademark everything, and you should, people should do what they want and try things that they're afraid of.
So, Erika, you say that work success is based on 5 things. What are they?
I think how successful you are at work is how you bring yourself to work, right? Who you are. I think how you show up is a choice. I had my son's football coach sent around a picture of something from a locker room that said things that require no talent: showing up, being on time, having a positive attitude. So I really think the biggest thing about being great at work is you deciding how you show up. I think the second is having a vision for how you use your time, making the most of your time, making your time count. I think another piece of being great at work is being open to learn from and teach others. I think there's so much learning that can happen at work if people would just open themselves to it. And then the other 2 pieces of being great at work are obviously working hard, which sounds, it sounds so trite, but somebody's got to get the actual thing done. And being the person that gets the thing done is a highly, highly, highly undervalued and underrated skill. And if you can be the person that gets stuff done, you will become the person who is driving what gets done. And I think that is just one of the biggest things people can do to be successful. And then the last part of, what it takes to be successful at work is being open to what comes next and taking advantage of it when an opportunity presents itself to you.
What are some of the greatest challenges that you face that you think have impacted you the most?
I've been really lucky to learn from really, really smart people who come from very different places than where I came from. That to me has been a real gift, to learn from truly magnetic and captivating and brilliantly smart people. 2 is the idea of always saying yes and being willing to try things, similar to what I mentioned before. But saying yes is, people forget that just saying yes to something, sure, you may regret it some of the time, but most of the times you don't. And being positive and being proactive about the opportunities that kind of flew by me was something that helped me be successful. So I think, saying yes is a second one. The third is, being willing to do the work. I always was able to grow, I think faster maybe than my peers, because I always was willing to take the jobs that nobody else wanted. Mm-hmm. And instead of fighting with people over the big cushy things that everybody wanted, I personally felt like, hey, I'm just going to go take out the trash and see where it gets me. And not having an ego about the small jobs or the unattractive jobs, I think is something that's helped me. Mm-hmm. And then the last piece is, to that, this is maybe redundant, but being willing to look stupid, being willing to learn, being willing to fail, being willing to try things, being willing to put myself in situations where I was uncomfortable or didn't know exactly how I was going to get out of them.
Erika, how much of success do you attribute to finding work that you really enjoy? You were talking about why we need to show up with the right attitude, but so many people I know work in jobs that they don't even like. They dread going. They talk about Monday being the days with the most heart attacks. People are just really miserable. Do you think that because a person isn't doing something that stimulates them or makes them happy, they don't put that effort in, they don't have the right attitude, and they don't show up?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset thing, which is, I tend to believe that there's something to love about every job, right? Every job has its crappy parts, and hopefully every job has some bright parts to it. I personally I struggle to understand why you would do something for 8+ hours a day that makes you miserable. Like, that to me is just a brutal way to live your life. And there are always options, or most always, there is always an alternative and always an option. Now, sure, the option may make less money, or the option may have a little bit longer commute, or the option may require longer hours or more personal sacrifice or stress, or, whatever it may be. But I think being miserable is a choice, and hating your job is a defeatist way of looking at work. I think work is tuition you get paid for. I think work is, different types of work are for different types of people. And if you're in a workplace that isn't right for you, or you're in a profession that doesn't make you happy, the choice is really yours of how do you start to step your way out of that. And, I think I wish more people did that, because it is a lot of time to spend if you're that deeply unhappy. And I tend to believe that there's so much opportunity and there's so much need for great people in the workplace that most everybody should be able to find something that does work for them.
You mentioned before about the power of the internet and how it changed companies like Barstool Sports and some of the other ones that you've been involved with. And there are some older people, and not necessarily older people, there are some people that are just very resistant to technology. How do you think that will impact their career path, the unwillingness to keep up with the trends?
It's funny, there's a lot of talk right now that AI is going to take people's jobs. And sure, AI will eliminate some jobs, but what's going to eliminate people's jobs are other people who understand how to use AI. And, putting your head in the sand and saying, I don't want to learn AI, I don't want to know AI, I don't want to understand technology, is a choice, and it's limiting. And it requires, everyone is gifted with 24 hours in a day. And the greatest thing about the internet, I love the internet, is that you can learn most anything. So if you want to figure out AI, or you want to figure out computer programming, or you just want to understand how Substack works, the internet will give that to you and actually not require that much in return. You don't have to pay for that knowledge. You don't have to work hard to get it. You really just need to enter something into some type of prompt, and it will spit out countless opportunities for you to learn. So I think it's a choice. I think, I also really believe that different generations of folks and different personalities of folks offer different things. And, if you are not the most technologically literate person, you're probably not going to be a computer engineer, or a software engineer, but you could at least be versed enough to be a great salesperson in a company full of software engineers. And so not putting the pressure on yourself that you should be an expert, but also not putting your head in the sand and saying, I don't know what this newfangled thing is. I think the right answer is probably somewhere in between.
And what I love so much about your message, Erika, is that it is very in alignment with the way I think, because I've been through so much in my life that I am really now a proponent for taking charge of your own life. And that's what I like. No one's going to do it for anyone. And really what you're teaching is telling us that we have more power than we believe. And I think that's such a great message that I hope a lot of people pay attention to.
I hope so. I think anyone can be most anything they want. And I really believe that the power to be happy is something that lies within you. And work is a vehicle to be happy. And for me, I grew up in the middle of nowhere with not very much, and work was the ticket out. And I really tend to believe that most people are stronger than they think they are. I totally agree with you. They're capable of more than they think they're capable of. And if they're willing to humble themselves to try something, even if they hate it, they will learn something that will carry them to someplace new. And that's what I hope for folks.
The book is Nobody Cares About Your Career While Failure is Good, The Great Ones Play Hurt, and Other Hard Truths. Erika, where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your work?
Oh, they can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Erika, Erika. They can follow me on Substack. I have a Substack under Erika Ayers Badan. They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also under my name there, and on YouTube.
And Erika, in our final moments, what is the takeaway? What would you like to leave our listeners with?
Just that, it's a new year. It's a great time to be thinking about what you want from your life. And it's a great moment always to think about how work can help you be happy. And I just hope people do that.
Erika, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guest and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read our digital articles, and be sure to subscribe to our mailing list. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.